The collective unconscious, according to Jung, is a deep and fundamental layer in the human psyche, which is identical for all human beings. We experience the collective unconscious through archetypical images, symbols, but sometimes also through a powerful and numinous energy without a specific form. Through these elements, the collective unconscious supposedly guides the bigger trajectories in our personal lives, but also the evolution of cultures and societies. Jung first postulated the idea of a collective unconscious during his work with schizophrenic patients. He noticed that many of these individuals, despite having no connection to each other, produced remarkably similar images, symbols and narratives in their hallucinations and delusions. This observation led Jung to believe that these patients were tapping into a deeper, universal layer of the psyche shared by all humans. As he stated, "It seemed to me that schizophrenics were speaking a language of symbols, expressing archaic images which I had encountered elsewhere already." Over time, Jung expanded and refined his understanding of the collective unconscious through the study of myths, fairy tales, world religions, art, poetry and dreams. He came to the conclusion that these cultural artifacts repeatedly reflected the same fundamental archetypes, universal themes such as the hero, the mother or the shadow, originating from an universal source, the collective unconscious. And as Jung said, archetypes are the forms or images of a collective nature which occur practically all over the earth as constituents of myths and, at the same time, as individual products of unconscious origin. Jung believed the collective unconscious originated from humanity's evolutionary past, passed down through generations as a psychic inheritance. Jung wrote, "The collective unconscious contains the whole spiritual heritage of mankind's evolution, born anew in the brain structure of every individual." And as mentioned before, we experience the collective unconscious through the various archetypes, universal symbols like the hero or the mother, which are shared experiences of our ancestors, passed down to us and still guiding us in our life today. Unlike the personal unconscious, which reflects an individual's forgotten or repressed experiences, Jung thought of the collective unconscious as a universal layer that connects all people. In contrast to the personal unconscious, which is essentially the residue of a person's own past, the collective unconscious contains the whole potential of future development. It is the mirror of the inner world, and when the individual confronts it, they encounter aspects of the psyche that are not personal but collective. Jung believed that the collective unconscious holds both the wisdom of the past and the potential for our future development, and he saw it as the common denominator for all human beings, creating symbols, myths, and patterns that unite humanity across cultures and time. Jung believed the collective unconscious to be a key driving force behind individuation, his term for personal growth and development, and the force influencing the broader trajectories of our lives. He saw the collective unconscious as an invisible steering element within the human psyche, shaping not only the individual behavior, but also the evolution of cultures and societies. The concept of the collective unconscious was the pivotal difference that led to the dramatic split between C.G. Jung and Sigmund Freud. While Freud was focused on the personal unconscious, rooted in individual repressed desires and early childhood experiences, Jung was convinced of a collective unconscious part inside the psyche which goes beyond the individual experience. Freud rejected the notion of a collective unconscious, dismissing it as speculative and metaphysical. And Jung, on the other hand, believed that Freud's theories were incomplete without this deeper layer of the psyche. Or as Jung put it, Freud's view is essentially pessimistic and reductive. He sees in the unconscious nothing but a reservoir of repressed desires, primarily of a sexual nature. My conception of the unconscious is on the contrary not only broader but also more positive. And this theoretical disagreement drove a wedge between Freud and Jung, ending their once deep friendship. Later in life, Jung reflected on his relationship with Freud. Our friendship has shattered upon the fundamental question of whether or not there is a collective unconscious. Neither Freud nor Jung ever fully reconciled, and both mourned the loss of a friend they both deeply revered, marking it as one of the most influential divides in the history of psychology. Jung saw in the collective unconscious the source of culture itself, providing a substance for myths, symbols, and stories to help society adapt to external internal shifts. This ability to rapidly adapt at the cultural level, Jung believed, was key to the survival and flourishing of human societies, far exceeding the slow pace of genetic evolution and change. In recent years, Richard Dawkins took up that idea of cultural adaptation and coined the term memes. Dawkins introduced the term to describe units of cultural information, ideas, behaviors, or stories that spread, replicate, and evolve similar to genes. These memes, whether in the form of myths, symbols, or stories, undergo a process of evolution by natural selection within the realm of human thought. But as with genes, memes require an environment on which they adapt to. And in the eyes of C.G. Jung, this environment, the environment to which memes adapt to, is the collective unconscious.